Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm so delighted to be here. And I work for China Institute, and we are at China Institute trying to tell stories about China and introduce China to Western audiences and Chinese audiences. But I feel like there's a terrible deficit of understanding of what's happening in the cultural sphere in China right now. And so I really want to commend Cui Qiao and the Beijing Center for Contemporary Art Foundation, because they are also in the business of storytelling and trying to build bridges between the two societies. And so today's event, I'm really delighted to be part of it. So it's my honor to introduce our panel today. I guess, are they going to come up one by one, yes, to introduce their speeches? So our first panelist today is Colin Yao, who is an amazing guy, who is the vice president of Tencent and president of Timi Studios, but is also the creator of kind of the biggest blockbuster game that's probably in the history of humanity in China. And so he is a creator himself and an artist and a technologist. So we're delighted to have him. Do you want to come up, Colin?
Good afternoon.
谢谢这个组委会的邀请。
Thank you for your
我是来自于腾讯
invitation.
公
I'm
司的
from
Colin Yao。
Tencent. My name is Colin Yao.
很荣幸说给大家作为第一个
I'm
分
very
享。
honored
我
to
们分
share
享的
with
主
you
题
as the
是
first
中国
speaker.
的
What I'm sharing with
游
you
戏
is the gaming
艺术追
industry
求和创新。
in China.
希望大家可以通过
Video game of
这个分
extreme
享能够
enabler
去对
to
中国的
reshape
游戏
the
行业、
future.
对腾讯
So I
游戏、
hope you
对
can
天美
have
有
a
一
better
个
understanding about
全
the
新的认
Chinese
识。
gaming industry, about Tencent games as well as Timi
中
Studio
国游
Group.
戏行业其实发展的非常的迅速。
The
腾讯
gaming
游戏也成
industry
为了
in
这个
China
行业
has
的第一名。
developed very fastly, and Tencent is the number one.
就是回想我自己在自己
When
17岁的那
I
一年
think back when I was
被游戏艺术所
17,
打动，
when I was
然后觉
attracted
得
to
自
the
己
gaming
这个软件里面呢，
industry.
所有的软件里面，游戏软件是最酷的。
I think among all the software,
然后立志未
gaming
来要做
software are
游戏。
the most
但其
interesting
实
one.
我不知
That
道
I
当时
make
中
that
国根本
into
没有
my
这个行业的
dream.
存在。
At that time, even though there was no such industry in
但是我坚
existence
持
in
下来
China,
了，没想到呢，
but
最后
I
就是
carried on.
参与了中
And I
国
didn't
游戏行业
expect
的
that
高
I
速
would
发展的这个机会。
I would be able to play in this very
那这里
exciting
有一个视频，就是快
industry.
速回顾了
Now
1990
I
年以
have
来中国游戏市场
a
的变
video
化过
that
程。
shows the history of video game in China.
In the 90s, China's youth were hanging in the arcades. They were reading books, at the roller disco, singing karaoke, playing some mahjong, or ping-ponging with a buddy. If your family could afford a game console, odds are you were best friends with half the block. By the year 2000, consoles had failed to stick. Computers were still too pricey to be found in most households, despite a growing craving for PC games. Enter the Internet Cafe, the one-stop shop for all your gaming needs. A wave of 20 cents an hour gaming rooms began popping up across the country. That had all the big PC titles from Korea and the U.S., but the Western pay-to-play standard games took on a more free-to-play approach in the East. Chinese game developers jumped on the low-cost net cafe trend, putting out a host of free games. The number of mainland gamers surged, multiplying 10 times over. Big league MMOs like World of Warcraft made gaming a mainstay in China's budding online entertainment market. The gaming culture had emerged, but an industry had yet to evolve. Summer 2008, the world watched as Beijing showcased how 30 years of rapid development had transformed the country. Gaming was now popular entertainment, and Chinese developers positioned to eclipse the traditional MMO with a new breed of free-to-play FPS, action, sport, and MOBA games, now with in-game purchases and a strong focus on social interaction. By 2012, cell phone storage grew and chips shrank. Government-backed 4G networks, local app stores, and quick mobile payment setups drove the sales over 400 million phones per year, putting a smart mobile device in the hand of nearly every Chinese consumer. By 2017, China's new most popular game team game on the phone where you and your friends can knock out the other team's tower in 15-minute pickup matches. As of May this year, it clocked 50 million daily active users, more than half of whom were female. The game triggered two hot new trends emerging in the mobile game market: social gaming and mobile esports. The mobile gaming phenomenon has only just begun to steal the spotlight. The wheels are already in motion. With its distinct culture and a myriad of cutting-edge and innovative game genres, China is one of the most unique gaming markets in the world. 25 years ago, nobody used to game in China. Now, China is ahead of the game.
那么回顾了一下这个发展的历史。
So now we have looked at the history of the Chinese video gaming,
但
and
其实
it's
我们也
developing
看到
very
在
fast in China.
2001
As we
年
have
的时
seen
候，
back in
游戏被
2011,
美国的
the
国家
game
艺术基金会
was
正式定义成艺术形
accepted
式，
as an art.
它是把游戏作为在文学、绘画、
It is
舞蹈、
in line
音乐、
with the
雕塑、戏
music,
剧、
dance,
建筑、电影
sculpture,
等这个第
architecture,
八
and
个艺
filming.
术之后的第
It's
九艺
after
术。
this top 8
那么游
form
戏和这
as
些
the
传统
ninth
艺术一
form
样
of，
正
art.
在创造意义。
And it is also making great
但
significance.
不同的是，就是游
But
戏
what's
它是可
different
以
is，that
它是一个更先进的这个
gaming
技术，
is
它
a
可以包
modern
容
technology.
和
It
应
can
用其他所有的艺
include
术形
all
式，
different forms of
并且
art.
在这些艺术形式上加入更多
And
的
we
互动性
include
和社
all
交
this
性。
interaction and sociability.
我们认为就是游戏再去
We
加上这
believe
些传统的艺
with
术，
the
可
art
以
in
让这些
cooperation
传
with
统
all
的艺术
different
变得
forms
更
of
加的
art,
科
and
技
then
化
we
和年
can
轻化
turn。the traditional art become more useful and more contemporary.
那游戏作为新进的艺术形式，
The
其实
new
我们认
form,
为它的作
emerging
用是
art
被远
form,
远低
its
估的。
influence much underrated.
那首先它是会把计算机
First of
的手机，不论是手机还是计算机的这个
Balance,
硬件使用率达到最
for
高的一种软
hardware,
件。
it helps
因为像
hardware or
大家
mobile
用的
turn
Word 这
into
样的软
highly
件是
used.
不需要
For
发
the
挥计
Word
算机的最高
document,
性能
it
的。
does have to use the full potential of the computer.
如
But
今呢，
for the
现在
video
的手
games,
机
it's a
其实
different
已经
story.
可以达到呈现3A
But
级
now
的
mobile
作品的画面的程度了。
phone, we can reach like a AAA
那在这个月，
status. And then this
我
month,
们研发的第一款国际化的3A
the
品
first
质的游戏，
international AAA mobile
Call
game
of Duty
title,
刚刚上
Call
线
of Duty,
这
which
也是我们
just
迈出3A 游戏的第一
launched
步。
online. This is one of the first ones where we
那
have
上线
launched.
的首周，在超过
And for the
140 多个国
first
家和地区，包括美国，
It ranked
在
number one in more than
这个 App Store 上
140
面的下
countries
载
and
排名
regions in terms of App Store
都是第一
downloads.
名。所以这可能是手机上
So
的首款
this
达
could
到
be
3A
the
品质的
first
游
of
戏，
its
所以
kind as
才有这
AAA
么多的
quality
用户喜
mobile
欢。
title. That's why it's so popular.
那游戏的艺术不仅仅表
As
现在
art
这个
form,
技
the
术
video
底层
game,
和视觉的
it's
这个
not
外
just
显
the
上面，
excellent underlying technology and
游戏
visual
中的音乐
presentation, but
更加能够
also
让我们看到
touching and impressive
让
music
用户
to
和产品
trigger
建立情感的连
even
接。
deeper emotional bond with players.
那比如
For example,
王者荣耀中的音乐，
the music in the
我们就和这个世界上最顶级的汉斯基摩
of the Kings,
这个深入的
we
合作，
work with
用最高的品质去打造我们游戏产
Abbey
品的
Road
音乐。
Studio and Hans Zimmer to work with them to
那
produce
在
this
天美的
music.
研发团队里面，其实
In our
我们
Timmy
有
studio,
上百人是
we
跟
have
负责音乐相关的工
hundreds of
作。
people are involved in music-related work.
除了其实交响乐，我们也会
In
融入
addition
很多的中国风格的
to
音乐元素。这里我们可以
Symphony,
看一
we
段
all
视
have
频，
like
来
Chinese
展现这个
elements.
工作的这个
Here's
状
a
态。
video to show how the Chinese music is included.
Gathered at the top recording sites to build a vast framework of epic music based on orchestral and percussion elements. Kun opera, Sichuan opera, Mongolian singing, whistle, hip hop, and art gave the composition the soul of the piece. Eastern fantasy epic suite was born in honor of kings. It is a wonderful movement that belongs to China alone, and now it can be experienced by the
就我们还甚至为了王者荣耀举行了一场顶
We
级的
even
这个演
organized a
唱会，
superb level of
使用
concert
中
for
国
Honor
一
of
线的乐
Kings
队、
with top
一线的
class
歌手、
bands, singers,
一线的舞
and
团来
dancing
制
troops
作。
from China.
现场近1万名的
6,000
观众，
people came to watch the concert,
超过了 1000万人在
and more than
网上去
10
观
million
看直
people
播。
enjoyed from online broadcast.
那王者荣耀当天
So for the Honor of
也会
Kings,
超过有1亿人在线进行游戏。
so there were more than 10 million people enjoying it online.
不玩游戏的话，只听音乐，这
If
个
you
现场的
don't
玩
play
家也可以
games,
感
you
受到
only
这个
enjoy the
就
music.
是
You
去
can
这个现场
also
也能感受到这种玩家的热情。
feel the passion
那我们再看
live.
我们也在不断探索这个游戏
We
的社
also
会价值。
continue exploring the social value of the video games.
那比如说，我们
For
尝试把
example,
中国4大
we've
名
been
秀之一的
working
蜀绣
actively
融入到
across
游戏中去。
try to incorporate one of the top 4
蜀绣是
embroideries,
以这种
which
清
is
新的色彩
Sichuan
和那种细腻
embroidery,
的针法，
into the video
形成了
game.
一个自己独特的一个
It
艺
is
术
known
韵
for
味
its。delicate colors and exquisite stitches.
那我们把我们的游戏中的人物的服装、
So,
头饰都
we
设计
use
成了融合一些
we
蜀旧风格的这种
incorporated
作品，
the
制作
Sichuan
了这个
embroidery
新的这个
for
英雄
the
的
characters in
阿
our
瓦塔的皮肤。
games, such as the
那下
skylark
面呢，这个
plume.
可爱的熊猫
And then we have the
叫做王耀耀。
panda, which is called the Yao
对，
Yao
它是王者荣
Wang,
耀在2018年认养的一只
which is
雄性的
adopted
大
by
熊猫。
Honor of Kings. It's a male
对，这个
panda.
耀耀它的妈妈是上过《时代
And
周
his
刊》的。
mother was featured on
对，
the
他的两
Time
个姐姐
magazine,
是
and
奥林匹
two
克
of
运动
his
会的吉
sisters
祥物，
was
就是福
celebration
娃。
behind the mascot of Olympic
这是成都
Games,
市政府跟我们
which
的
is
一个合
Fuwa.
作。
This is our collaboration with the
那我们
Chengdu
就
city.
在游戏里面，就是把耀耀这个熊猫加
So in
上
our
这个当
game,
四川的
we
川剧
incorporate
变脸的文
Yao
化元
Yao
素，
as well as
合在一
the
起，做成了独特的这个英
picking
雄角色，
Sichuan opera's face changing.
让用户去感受这种丰富
And
的文
so
化。
for the players to experience the
那还
rich
有我们一
culture.
项很成功的实践，就是和
Another
敦煌的文化
practice
合作。
is our collaboration with
我想
Dunhuang.
大家都知道敦煌，
As
这是世界遗
you
产，
probably have
然
heard
后
of
世界上
Dunhuang,
现
which
存规模
is
最大、
World
内容
Heritage,
最丰富
and
的
it's
佛教的艺术地。
the very biggest and
那我
has
们在
most
敦煌的那
dynamic
些壁画上面去
grottos.
吸取一些
So
灵
we
感。
draw
那
inspiration
比如说，我
from the
们用这个
murals
壁画的
of the
上面的
Dunhuang
人物的
grotto.
服饰和首饰，
And we
然后再加上配合我们在莫高窟
take
发现的这
inspiration
个飞天的
from
这
their
个壁画上的人
costumes.
物的动
And
作
then
和
we
造
have
型，
the flying asparagus
然后我们就合成了一个
Apsara.
全新的
And then
王
we
者荣耀的
turn
英
that
雄形象
into
配
an
合。
image for our honor
也
of
是通过这
glory.
个游戏的这个新的这个
And
形
through
式
this
啊，就
game,
让这个古典形象重
we
新的
can
这个让年轻人喜欢。
this
有超过
vividly.
4000
And
多万
then
的
because
玩家
also
去拥有了这套这个英雄的皮肤，
favored by the
这个英雄的造
gamers.
型，那引起了大量的这个年轻人的喜欢。那也
It's
使我们
widely
也发现，就
popular
是
among
拥有
young
这些皮肤
people
的很多
has
的年轻
encouraged
用
them
户
to
去
learn more
主动
about
地去了解
Dunhuang culture.
敦煌的文化。后面呢，我们也通过一个短片，就是大
And
家
now
可以
we
生动
also
看一
have
下
a
本次的这个
video
合作。
to show us this collaboration.
This is Tuanhuang, the western end of Huxi Corridor and an essential junction on the Silk Road. Here you will find one of the most beautiful pagodas in the world and 45,000 square meters of paintings hidden along 735 caves, the Muagao Grottos, filled with the amazing Tuanhuang murals. Every inch is a precious piece of art. Our mission is to spread the treasure of Tuanhuang to the rest of the world in a deeply personal and entertaining way. After 6 months and 37 revisions, Honor of Kings launched Divine Grace. The ancient culture of Tuanhuang, recreated after 1,600 years, is now enjoyed by millions of young people through Honor of Kings. To date, over 40 million fans own Divine Grace. It is the gateway where more and more young people are experiencing traditional Chinese culture.
那我们也就是用游戏的这个技术来
We also use
结合去做一些
our
这个
gaming
教育性的
technology
尝试。那我们也建立一个叫
for some
DNA 的计划，
educational
这个叫数
purpose.
字原住民的
So
计
we
划。
have a
就
co-initiated
是来
Tencent
帮助
DNA program,
这个青少年
which is
健康利用
help
网络，
young people
避免网
how
络的这个
to
陷阱和风
use
险。
the internet
现在的这个
intelligently
小
and
孩子
avoid
出
those
生就在互联网的状态
pitfalls.，
这个
As
身边
young
无论是
children
计算机、互联网、手机
grow
都非常的普及。
with the
记
development
得
of
我
the
们有一个
internet.
活动中，
During
有
one
一
of
个
our
小学生说他
programs,
自己
when
出生
we
的
have
不好，
elementary
他
students
出生的时
said
候只有
that
3G，
when he was
但他的
born,
妹
it
妹
was
就
only
很
3G,
好。
but his younger
他的妹
sister
妹是出生的
was
时候
born
是
in a better
4G。
age, which is 4G.
所以说他们一出生就在
So
天
when
然
they
的
were
数字原
born,
住民的时
they
代
are。born in
那他们
a
怎么来
this
安全的利用网
no
络？怎么
internet
通过
age,
网络来
and
学习
how
网
to
络安
use
全？
it
这
safely,
是我们现在在
how
在
to
做的事情
practice。safely. This is
那
something
通过
we're trying to help them to achieve.
腾讯和腾讯公益啊组织一起努力，我们让
With
100多
Tencent
万
and
个家庭
Tencent
去在
Philanthropy,
这个项目
we
中
have
去
over
获益。
100
那家
families
长
to
和孩子可
benefit
以
from
在这
this
个过程中
program,
学习
and
如何更健
they
康
can
的上
learn
网，
how
通过一些互动的
to
方式，通过一些
use
这种
internet safely.
这个网
And
络
we
的课
also
程
have
来教育大家，
interactive
还有一些线下的课程。
sessions and offline sessions to help them.
那我们也再看一下，就是
Now let's
游
look
戏的
at the
跨界的合作。
crossover with
那
CG
我们有一个
movies.
著名的游戏叫做
We have
QQ 飞车，是
famous
其实我们的
movie
历史
called
比王者荣耀更长的一款
QQ Speed,
游戏。
which is
一个10年
also
的 IP 吧，10
popular
来年的 IP。那
with
其中有一
IP
个
of
角色
over
叫
10
QQ 飞
years.
车的小橘子。
When one of the characters called Little Mandarin.
我们会用这个角色和
We
这
would
个
use
IP
this
去打造
character
一个
and their
CG 的电影
IP，to make a
会
CG
讲述
film.
一个
It
温
will
暖的，就
talk
是
about
父女
a
的
sweet and
正能
touching
量的
father
故事，
and daughter
父女情
story.
的一个正能量的故事。那 QQ 飞车 CG 电影呢，已经进入到 demo 的
Since
制作阶
QQ
段。
Speed is
这
already
里
in a demo
我们可以给
phase.
大家看一
Now
点
let's
制作中
have
的
a
这个
little
片段。
preview, a sneak peek.
我刚刚看到那个电影啊，就是说
As
我们
we
也希望
see
说
from
做到
this
很高的水
film,
平，
we
就不
hope
亚于
to
皮
make
克
it
斯这样的
a
制作
high
水准。
quality,
那我们看
which
到
is
就是
equivalent to
我们因为
Pixar's
做这些 IP 的这些影
animation.
响力的事情，
Because
让
of
我们的
our
小橘子被
capability,
这个
our
英国的
Little
旅游
Mandarin
局看上了，对
was
他把它选择成为
announced
了
by
这
the
个
UK National Tourist
这个中英
Agency
的这个旅游的
as
友好
goodwill
大使
ambassador for China.
啊，一个虚拟的形象，这是通过 AR 技术拍摄的照片。
So this is an image taken with AI
这也是我们
technology.
游戏和国际文旅的一个首次的合
This
作。
is also first collaboration with art and
那我
tourism.
们也在继续通过
We're also
游戏的能
using
力，
video
找到一种
games
新的
to
玩法，
find
就
a
是
new
我们制
way
作了一
of
款叫做
playing.
剑
We
的游
developed a
戏，
new
看
idea.
见的剑，
It's called C.
能够让玩家们去通
So
过游戏
for
的技术
people
去
to
体验
use
到
the
视障人
technology
士的生活，
to
感
experience
受他们的一些
what
艰辛，
feels like to
推
be
动这
blind.
个这个大家来关注视障人士的这个。
So to draw more attention for people to for
那视障
the
人士
people
的特点是，他不
who
是
cannot
瞎
see.
子哈，他
They're
可以
not
看到一点点
literally
的光亮
blind. They can still see a little
那这
light.
些人群呢，在全球有好几千万。
So we have millions of blind people in the world. So we're trying to use this game try to feel experience their life. A lot of people get to see how difficult it is to be blind. And then they say this game, it's very, very dark. Every time they can only see very, very little. But after they played it with it, they were crying. They were so touched. Some people also left a message. Once we see if anything on the road blocking the road for the blind, they will help them to clear the road. So the game had received a high scoring of 9.9. So it was very socially beneficial.
Now let's
look at a very popular e-sport. This is a new gaming technology.
This is the most popular games that have been participated by our youth. So you can see that there are so millions of people in the stadium for these esports competitions. So usually the tickets have been sold out immediately after they are available. And the audience on site, and also the ones that are watching the live stream online, they are more than any conventional sports that we have ever seen and experienced. So many young people becomes the superstars within the esports, and this is unprecedented. So this particular sports is something that we want to proudly share. Is that last year in the Asian Games that we won the first gold medal. The representative selected from the KPL professional league that they won the first gold medal in Asian Game last year. So this generation of young people that I really want to see how can they utilize the technology to combine with sports. So this is definitely a demonstration of the progress of our society. And lastly, I want to talk about the Teaming Studios and Tenchin that we are having collaborations with many institutions, including Parsons, because we really want to create the artistic levels and also its technical aspect. We want to have certain enhancement, and we also would like to in Los Angeles to establish our offshore branches, and so have more collaboration opportunities. So we have a lot of closer, intimate, and broader collaborations with the U.S. partners. So this is what I would like to share. Thank you.
Okay, so it's now my honor to introduce Ben Rodriguez Cubeñas, who is at Rockefeller Brothers Fund, where he is the program director for the Culpeper Arts and Culture. Ben has been a program director at RBF's Pivotal Place, New York City, and the Culpeper Arts and Culture program since 1995, but he's really been working on philanthropy for some 30 years. So he has very deep knowledge about every aspect of philanthropy, and he's going to share with us his work, and we'll talk about it afterwards on the panel. Thank you, Ben.
Lots of lights. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Ben Rodriguez Cubeñas, and is this on? For the PowerPoint? Oh, perfect. Okay. So I was asked to speak about one of my initiatives. The Rockefeller Brothers Fund is a family philanthropy. It was started in 1940 by John D. Rockefeller, really to organize and the philanthropy of the sons. We focus on capacity building, creative process, and artist residencies. The capacity building work supports small and mid-sized cultural organizations in the city. The creative process work supports commissions, presentations of artists. And the artist residencies, both we have our own artist residency and we support artist residencies throughout the city. So one of the things that we've seen, obviously New York City's economy, very much the creative sector really fuels a lot of New York City's economy. But it's also increasingly difficult for artists to work and live in New York City because of the expense and so forth. So that was also one of the motivations behind our support in these areas. We also have learned along the way that if you want to really tackle some of the big issues, you cannot do it alone. You have to work with others. And in this case, the particular case study that I will be sharing with you is our work with the Department of Cultural Affairs. If you really want to have impact and you want to go to scale, you need to work with partners, and in this case, in the city, you would need to work with the Department of Cultural Affairs. Create NYC is the initiative, and Create NYC is a law that was enacted in 2015 by Bill de Blasio, and really with a lot of input from the city council and elected officials who are also very concerned about some of the issues that I mentioned. The law created a mandate for DCLA to create the first ever cultural plan. Believe it or not, New York City never had a cultural plan. Every administration came and they had their 4 years or 8 years, and they each created their own priorities and so forth, but there was never any continuity or really long-term visioning for the culture of New York City. As part of this legislation, there was a Citizens Advisory Committee that was comprised of community members and stakeholders appointed by elected officials. I was appointed to be the chair of that committee, and really it was the committee serves to bring the voices of citizens into the process. One of the most important aspects of this Create NYC was the extensive community engagement. For several months, there were citywide boroughs, online surveys, other opportunities for New Yorkers to really put forth their ideas, their recommendations of what our Department of Cultural Affairs and what culture should be like in New York City. This really gives a mandate for the plan, and over 100 recommendations were incorporated into Create NYC. It's a 10-year plan with milestones and opportunities for monitoring this process along the way. How Philanthropy was engaged in this early process is we really helped with the outreach and the making sure that as many New Yorkers as possible participated in that public engagement process. It's now 2019, it's 2 years after the implementation of the plan. We had a check-in in July, and these were some of the indicators of where we are that the plan wants to support. Increased funding and support for culture, especially historically underserved communities. Cultivate inclusive practices in the cultural sector, focusing on board and staff diversity. Strengthening connections between the cultural sector and government. Creating and preserving affordable spaces for artists to live and work. And provide high-quality arts education for all New York City public schools. The New Yorkers for Culture and Arts is an extension of this work. One of the things, in addition to the work of the Citizens Advisory Committee, it's important that the civil society in New York City is also engaged in this process. And a new entity has surfaced, New Yorkers for Culture and Arts. It's an advocacy organization. And it will be in charge of making sure that the plan is implemented and that the issues that have emerged from the public engagement and the continued monitoring are addressed. There are many points where philanthropy could support these processes, and these are some. It is necessary to work with government, and if you do want to go to scale and so forth, but it's also important to support the public engagement, the coalition building aspects of the work, There's a lot of research and data gathering and then dissemination of the data that needs to happen, community forums that need to organize, and then ongoing monitoring and reporting. Many of these things are beyond the scope of government and beyond what their budgets allow them to do, and this is where philanthropy comes in. So in concluding, philanthropy needs to work with government agencies to maximize the impact of the philanthropic investments and to go to scale. We cannot do it alone. You might have the ideas and some of the money, but if you want to have impact and go to scale, you need to work with other partners. And at the same time that you are a partner, you also need to support advocacy efforts for grantees so that we boost the voices of the people that cannot be heard, strengthen their platform, and ensure that progress continues going forward. I'm happy to answer any questions when the time comes. Thank you.
So Gerry Mao, who is a partner of Lunar Capital, is into some very, very interesting stuff. Gerry is an entrepreneur and co-founder of Lunar, which is China's leading consumer-focused buyout firm covering healthy food, baby products, sustainable forestry, luxury fashion, and cultural industry. So he's really at the forefront of trying to figure out who is China's new consumer and what is China's new lifestyle. What I find especially fascinating about the work of Lunar Capital is that they have invested in what is certainly one of the most important contemporary art institutions in Beijing. It's the Yulin Center for Contemporary Art, Yulin Dangdai Yishu Zhongxin. And so they have created something called the UCCA Group, which is now a business with multiple business lines across exhibitions, retailing, and art education. But Yulin's at the same time continues to be really one of the most important, intellectually one of the most important art centers in China, and certainly in Beijing. And so what Gerry does is he's walking that very interesting fine line between the commercial sector and the non-commercial cultural sector. So please come on up and talk about your work.
Thanks, Linda, for the kind, long introduction. I think I finished my part.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my ideas and my experience with you. And thank you, Cheetah, for having me. So this is give me the chance to, how can we help this type of traditional art foundations or centers to have business investment. So UCCA is a leading contemporary art and creative leading art institution. So we want to introduce UCCA into the daily life of our target audience. So the collectors of UCCA funded UCCA, and in the past few decades, they are playing a very, very crucial role in the development of contemporary art in China and then bringing that to the rest of the world. So this is within China. This is within the biggest share of audience that has in terms of market shares for contemporary audience, contemporary art audience. So UCCA, we collaborate with them and then to restructure its mission and its operating model. So since in the past it's a traditional institution, so the first thing that we have to change an institution, we need to change from within. So just like the same way that if you have a baby, the first thing you have to do is to actually rearrange and restructure and reorganize your living space at home. So this is how we started with structurally and also physically we change the space so that we can, as the first step of this transformations and restructure nurturing. So we want to really make the space, make it more public, make it more exposed in such a way that it's not just for art lovers. We want to really target geared towards the general masses. So here, so it's about that space. So we have created this particular Dune gallery, and this is where that about 2 hours away from Beijing, and we want to somehow connect art with natural elements. So it's a very new concept in terms of what is it called to have a gallery or a museum. So we also promoted a lot of online promotions and disseminations of the information through media planning, through media outreach. So then one of the main points of these digital economies is that how can we utilize the same being talked about in terms of gaming is that we need to see it almost like the ninth art form. So how can we somehow find a way to transform a traditional and conventional art institution into something that is more contemporary and also incorporating technology such as digital technology? So we need to break out of that particular restrictions and this limitations of the traditional way of thinking or the way that people assume that how you should operate as a traditional art institution. These are all the things that we need to break the barriers. Like here in New York, there are a lot of art institutions that when we think about MoMA, think about the Met, and they think that this will be the institutions that they need to emulate. But I think in China, I think we are facing dramatic transformations and of our landscape and the way how people think. So instead of emulating something that is so conventional, it's not really very, very productive. So we have been experiencing major changes in China in terms of how we live and how we operate and how we think. So I think that in terms of the cultural institution, they need to mirror that transformations of how people operate their daily lives in order for them to be to find resonance and to have that kind of relatability with the audience. So we to think about how we're going to use the foundations and the museums and make them become something that's being recognized by the government as something that is crucial to the development, including nonprofit organizations and then all the other institutions that can create and also become a very crucial roles of the overall society development and national development. So in terms of the team-wise, we're trying to somehow have divisional labors in terms of the institution, the different parts of our initiatives. So within this, we have a lot of missions is that we want to definitely still maintain to have the best exhibitions available to the Chinese audience. So the most leading, the most cutting edge, and at this point, and also the audience in China at this point, what will be the most inspirational exhibitions for them. So we have been continue to produce a lot of exhibitions. So this is one of the latest and recent exhibitions about Picasso's, and this is a lot of Chinese audience that they had never had a chance and ability or access to enjoy a gallery or exhibitions on Picasso's. So UCIS is a completely independent institutions. So how are we going to then use this particular individual independent institution into the daily lives of Chinese people? So we need to start thinking about in terms of the consumer market, how can we introduce the institution into that particular lifestyle, that type of consumer market. So this is something very different in China, since in the U.S. in terms of e-commerce, it's very, very ingrained in the daily lives of. So in the past, we tend to go out and to shop, but now actually people tend to just utilize the online vendors and e-commerce to take pictures and then purchase that particular product online. So I might have something that a sneakers that I really find attractive and interesting, and so I went online and bought it. And then the next day after I wake up in the morning and the sneakers has been delivered to my house. So this is something that has completely and fundamentally transformed how people consume. So not only the shopping, also in terms of film industries, in film sector, it's also something that has completely been transformed in China. And also the way that people go to museum is also another element that how the way that people go to museums have been transformed. So I do think that China has always been countries that actually respect art and respect galleries or museums. But at the same time, I do think that we need to find a way to cultivate their habit, that to go to art galleries and museums more frequently as there's a daily habit rather than something that you just think that for older generation to buy art products. So we need to change that particular mindset. So here we want to really try to how can we have this physical space that is so limited, but at the same time creating online platforms and other digital platforms for audience to be able to access the museums online rather than offline. So that's how we can create a particular connections.
It's a more digital form, so we won't be restricted to the space. We also work with fashion brands for some crossover collaboration, so for them to help them to see not only appreciate art in a museum, but also in life. For example, through products, so for them to experience art. And then our UCC retail in China, for retail, we have a disadvantage because the retail is changing rapidly in China. As I work with so many brands, I know it so well. At the very beginning, for most traditional business, because we had a shopping mall and retail center, but then we have the e-commerce. So we have the Tmall and Taobao to disrupt the retail business. Now we have JD and Pinduoduo, etc. So it has to keep evolving. So no matter we have different ways of selling products, as a retail business, when we turn to artistic IP into a product, I think in this way, this will never change. Just like Mr. Yao has said earlier, even though they are in the gaming industry, which is already very popular with a lot of viewers, players, but they're also working with many institutions such as Donghuang. So from this point of view, some art IP itself is worth investing. It can bring a lot of collaboration opportunities. Thirdly, is our education. As the art museum, it acts as an educational channel. So for UCCA, we did a lot of a trial, try to help with education for the next generation of China. With 8 years development, we have a comprehensive artistic education system for children, and not just for simply teach them drawing or painting. We have China, we talk about quality education. If only restricted to a certain form, then it's still very limited. So we are trying to do a new way to inspiring, to find a new approach to teach children, whether through art exhibition or our current courses to develop in-depth courses. It's not just in our exhibition space, we also expanded to other areas. That's all I have to share. Thank you very much.
So, Sun Tinting, who's a partner at Capital, also very much has her finger on the pulse of both culture and commerce. Since 2016, she was the founder and partner of Capital. But as a new company, new economy investment bank in China, Capital focuses on private financing services for startups in the field of consumption and cultural upgrade. So she's working very hard also on understanding and figuring out how to reach the new Chinese consumer through technology, lifestyle, and cultural creativity. And there's a lot that we can talk about when we all sit down afterwards. So please come on up. Tinting, are you here? Yep.
大家好，我是孙婷婷。
Hi, my name is Sun Ting. I'm very honored to share with you. There's a introduction, so I'm not going to talk in details. We're about 10 years history, experience about mostly venture capitalists. The reason I'm here because at the time we were thinking about startup with the technology, but now I talk about lifestyle, entertainment, etc. The fund we work with, it will be have a lot of investment in art and the lifestyle. So now we have some cases for sure with us. Since 2016, I created a consulting firm to attract investments from the investors. So we act as a financial consultant, and I also share with you the company that we have served. And for the Chinese cultural and creative industry has a lot of potentials, so as we all have some basic understanding. But in my understanding, there are two areas. First of all, it accounts for a very small percentage of GDP. Compared to developed countries, we still have a lot of room to grow. And then from the potential point of view, we have large population. There are a lot of rising middle class and Generation Z. We have a lot of young people who have a great consumption capability. This is a brief introduction of some numbers to help you to understand the Chinese cultural industry. And here we have some cases, some of the projects that were involved. The first one is So Young, which is the biggest medical beauty industry platform and community. So their collaboration with art creation most from the content, because it's an emerging market in China. There are only millions of people are involved with the medical beauty in China. However, there's some difficulty with people trusting different medical facilities. So they're using this platform to help people, to help for some people they can use to share with their reviews, and also they use the platform to create some content and to help improve the service in the industry. So in the past 7 to 8 years, it has grown rapidly, and then in May of this year, it was listed in NASDAQ. Next, Yunji is a social e-commerce. Which is also very representative in China. It uses a social network between people to recommend certain products and turn different social members into their platform customers. Yunji has also experienced a tremendous growth in the last 5 years. It was also listed on NASDAQ in May of this year. Next is China Literature Limited, which is the biggest internet literature platform in China. The online subscriber, the revenue was about billions of Chinese RMB, which over 50% of market share. It is also listed a company. It was listed in Hong Kong. So the China Literature Limited may be a platform, but the Thinkdom is different. It's a leading production, it's publishing book company. It has over 20 years of history in the industry. What it's known for is turning the most famous literature in art, history, social science, as well as children's art, and turn them, introduce them into China and sell them to the Chinese readers. It was listed in 2017 on Shanghai Stock Exchange. is a fashion e-commerce platform in China. I think what's interesting about Mogujie is that it has a great community established among buyers to share what they like and what they have bought, because a lot of viewers are very young, so they have also a fashion designer incubator. So a lot of young designers will put their new products onto this platform to reach more young buyers. It was also listed on New York Stock Exchange in 2018. Next, it's a company that has not been listed, but it's a very influential platform that is art and creativity related, which is Douban. It is the biggest Chinese, one of the biggest Chinese social networking sites with 200 million registered users. Every day, with millions of people will use the mobile platform, and they have thousands of viewers per day. It has a great recognition and also a social networking community for those young people who likes art and literature. Douban may be a platform that I've used many years, and they have left with a lot of data as well. Next, since 2016, I would like to talk about the companies that I would work with in art and entertainment industry. So it may be still growing, so maybe not widely known. And it's not a listed company. But we can see in China, in this industry, what kind of characteristic it has. It has a lot to do with the topic I'm talking about. So there are a lot of crossover collaboration in this area. As we have seen earlier, from the art and entertainment chain, a different company may have different point of access. For example, some from content, or some from cooperation, some from like logistic support or solution support. But we can see, even though people can access this industry from different access points, but we can see for it to have to be long-lasting, to be competitive, and to be commercialized. So in a way, they have common attributes, which in the entire chain, they are involved in many areas and are playing a major role. Let me give you a few examples. Let's talk about some interesting cases. The first one is the Philo brand. Their business would turn into a very famous museum IP, and they would have be exclusivity to represent this museum, such as the Great Museum, and then the Met, National Gallery in London, V&A, Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, BBC, etc. And then they would have crossover application in China. As we can see from the images, for example, the fashion industry, they will turn those into either shoes or fashion or cosmetics. And then in the fashion industry, they can also turn into like a scarf or hats. Here's the umbrella. I think that's inspiration from the Great Britain British Museum. They also announced this week they have investment from Hongshan Capital. As I mentioned earlier, Xinjiang is one of the biggest private platform for books. But here, here's another one so it's very important for you to have a very popular product which would help them to extend their longevity. So a lot of viewers have read their books. The English version is also widely sold around the world. For example, for data book, they'll have the one or two very popular books will be launched every year in China, with annual sold with millions of issues, which is very rare even around the world. Next company is called Block 12. It's the biggest emojis company. If you use WeChat online, so you would know very well about those emojis. So Block 12 is focused on WeChat to design and develop their proprietary images, for example, for different Chinese characters and turn them into emojis. If you use WeChat often, you will be able to see those different emojis. So they have a great database. And of course, emojis they have a business model as well. One of the important things that is become leading company, it has crossover between social media and business commerce. They have this lucky machine for the fans to try to get those toys. Next company is called Aimon. Aimon is the biggest IP star in China. As we have heard of Disney one day, they have their own different characters. They would have some derivative products. As in China, more and more new images, new IPs are appearing, but some companies, they're still at the development stage, so there's no way for them to develop derivative products on their own, whether for development or production or sales. So Aimon would help this type of companies to make their own IP characters including turning their either 2D or 3D characters into merchandise or entertainment product. From manufacturing to sales, that would help them with the entire process. Of course, Emma, they have their offline stores as well, whether in China-U.S. or shopping mall, you will be able to see their stores. Next company is called Cheetah Robot. It has leading technology. It's a leading fighting robot around the world. As we can see from this image, all the fighting robots they have developed. Their dream is to turn the movie into some real ones that people can actually to operate in these fighting robots and use the mobile phone to record and share. Cheetah Robot, their robot can also can collaborate with a lot of IP characters. For example, they partnered with the Honors of Glory from Tencent. It was very popular among the players. Next company is called Banana Culture. As Mr. Yao from Tencent shared with us, we have some crossover collaboration. For example, on esports. So Banana Culture is one of the leading esports producer, which is very hard to produce. Banana Culture has leading esports production capability. They have also worked with the LPL Championship and the League of Legends World Championship, as well as Overwatch League Championship.
And also don't think that Banana Culture really developed the offline esports culture. And also that all these different leagues and the fans that they're going to connect them, and so that they help create a type of collaborations in terms of real estate, how to connect the players with the fans. So next one is called the Street Voice. So there's the brand that is most important is called the Simple Life. This is the most famous high-quality brand that connect the lifestyle with culture. So this is geared towards the musicians, for creative musicians to support them, and including that how to distribute their music and also how to create emergent artists. How can we help them in a very, very efficient way to be known by the general public. And at the same time, that the Street Voice is also would help them find the core audience at their at the early stage of their development, and also find different brands that for them to connect with the younger listeners through different merchandise or different festivals and music festivals. So they have been doing this for the past few years, and then they have done many the festivals that connect lifestyle with music, and so you have thousands of audience who will be on stage, will be on site listening to the concerts. So you can see that there are so many new emerging products from different type of sectors, and then these creative products that you can see them being somehow some integrated into the festival as well. So next one, I have one more case. This is called the Niubo. This is a culture plus or crossover or in collaboration with the parenting sectors. So we always thinking about that there's something that cannot be replaced by technology. So that will, to me, has something to do with offline experience that you can create for the clients, and that cannot be replaced by the technology. So I do think that this is a very good sample, explanatory sample, so to showcase that type of service that we can provide offline for our clients. So not only in terms of aesthetics, not only in terms of the service package, that I do think that it's play a really leading players in the offline products that we can offer to the clients. So this is also the way that is designed of the space, and that we can really accommodate hundreds of people at the same time. So this has become a lot of turnover rate in this particular space, and you also attract a lot of contents to be able to integrate it into this particular space. Not only it's about books, and not on the music, or it's about TV or films. So you have a lot of general educations products that they can be somehow implemented here in this particular space. And there are so more and more children can actually experience a lot of contents that are very relevant to what they are learning in school. So definitely played a huge role in terms of the parenting lifestyles within the Chinese market. So next one is the culture that collaborate with the education setup. So this is one of the painting books that one of the biggest ones, that the most popular one. So they will be authorized to somehow publish these type of books online, so that they can reach out to many audience and clients and consumers. And also because of this particular platform, that they really change the learning styles and the learning behaviors, and also the English comprehension skills of the children who are enjoying them. So definitely that it has a lot of contribution to the learning of the English language through this particular platform. The next one on the right-hand side is the Tintin's Sing Pong platform. So this is a platform that we utilize the traditional classics that in the past usually the poems that they learn is not through reading them, but through singing them. So here we are through this platform that we actually help the children to find a way and to teach them how to sing those poems, so that they can memorize and they can appreciate and understand these classical poems. And by listening to these poems, that you will be able to somehow internalize them, not only learn, but also learn while being entertained. And next one is called the Star Times. So this is one of the overseas cases and examples that I can share with you. So this one is the number 2 media companies in Africa. So they have something about satellites, about these satellite signals, and also the transmission networks, and also the content that have been viewed, and that has been a lot of programs and contents from China or the greater Asian areas that can be shared through this particular platforms, and then being translated into dozens of different languages in the African continents to be consumed by the audience there. So, and the ordinary people that they might not have the means to enjoy very, very high-end products, but at the same time, through this particular platform, they will be able to enjoy and have access to contents and products from Asia, or specifically from China. So the next one is also another overseas products, and this is the internationalized market that a lot of Chinese companies want to tap into. So this is one of the examples. So one of the products is called the Next Gen. So this particular creation worth mentioning is that it really created this particular original animations that are here made in China and then actually being sold with the highest price and for its product, and also won many reputable awards. So I do think that this type of Chinese art and cultural products can be introduced and be well received and well accepted and acknowledged by the international audience. So the next one is called the service called 特赞. So this is a connections between culture and enterprise. So this is a creative resources that can offer the people who visit or the enterprises that visit this particular platform. So we'll really through this platform to through the supply chains to create a supply chains for the enterprise to be able to reach out to the market. And thank you for listening, and that is what I would like to share today.
So our final participant today, Taozi, comes to these questions from a completely different angle. He is working on nonprofit, solely on nonprofit and philanthropy. And he's one of the leading experts in China on China's rapidly emerging philanthropy sector. Taozi he was the president of the China Foundation Center, which has worked with 7,000 charity foundations on their efforts, in particular on transparency. And Taozi has worked hard to develop the idea that transparency is crucial in all philanthropic efforts. He's now the founder and president of Yishan, a data-driven intelligent philanthropy advisor. So he's helping philanthropic organizations develop their data-driven, transparent procedures. So Taozi, will you come up and share with us? Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Taozi. Today we heard a lot of case studies in the past, like 4 cases, and later I will present a big picture about the Chinese philanthropy sector to show in China, in the art and the cultural sector, how many donors make grants and who are they, to give you an idea. Okay, so this picture to show the whole philanthropy sector in China and the art and the culture. So we can see from the 2013 to 2017, the total overall giving in China increased very fast. By the end of 2017, the culture and art giving is about 3% of the total giving. We know in China, most of the money, charity money, goes to the education, healthcare, and environmental protection. But we see 3% is good for art and culture right now. But we will see in the future what will happen here. So that's the art and culture. So from between 2013 to 2017, it's like a wave, bigger than smaller and bigger. But the trend is become bigger sector. And on our right side, it showed the grant makers, how many donors in the art and culture. So for all of you, if you go to Beijing or Shanghai, you will see them over 500 grant makers making grants support the Chinese social art and culture sector. Here are the geography, the location. So for example, if you only have 3 days to visit China, you are very interested in talking to some grandmaker in art and culture, which city you should visit? So top one, Beijing, definitely, to the hometown of like Cheetah and Asia Society. And then the next one, you can choose Shanghai or Guangdong. It depends on you want to see more people, if you want to see some rich people. So if you want to see like more people, more grandmaker, you go to Guangdong. If you want to see the rich grandmaker, you go to Shanghai. So, but anyway, definitely go to like Beijing. That's the best place to talk, to discuss art and culture. Okay, then we show some names. So those names can be very helpful for you. So that's the top 10 main art and culture donors. Then you can see the total giving from them. Then you will see the grants, which kind of project they are supporting. So for example, the first one, Minsheng Bank, is a very famous and influential bank in China. It's a corporate foundation. This corporate foundation, they support a local museum. And from the 2nd to the 10th, you can see most of them, they are like corporate foundation or private foundation. They make a grant to support the museum, to support some cultural exchange programs. That's give you some idea. Then there is another kind of list. So the last page to show the top 10 grandmaker by their budget. But this one to show the activity. So some like a private banking or like corporate foundation, they only support their own projects. But some private foundation, they support other projects. So this one is to show according to how many grantees they have to show the list. So we can see Dunhe Foundation. Later we will mention this foundation. If you want, it's headquartered in Hangzhou, the same to the company Alibaba. So if you have more time, visit Hangzhou to visit this Dunhe Foundation. It's one of the biggest Chinese private foundation. So they make a grant to 29 grantees. Then other, most of them belong to some very successful businessmen. Okay, then let's go some case. So that's the museum supported by the Minsheng Bank. So they have a banking in Shanghai and in Beijing. If you are interested in this museum, you can talk to them. And they make a lot of money to this museum. It's like an American operating foundation. They operate their own projects. The second one is that this foundation, they are very interested in to encourage more Chinese artists to practice oil painting. So it's kind of cultural exchange. This foundation, this museum, located in Hangzhou as well. Okay, this is from Beijing, and this foundation really wanted to use art as a tool to encourage the cultural exchange between China and the Western world. So whatever they operate their grants or their projects, they will try to invite some Western artists and Eastern artists to really show the cultural difference between them. You can see the Italian, the opera, and the Beijing opera. Okay, the final one is a very cool one from Dunhe. So this foundation is a private foundation. It's more like a family foundation. Purely the money from one single successful businessman. This businessman is one of the most successful investment company owner. And but he always say, the reason I'm so successful is because I use the Chinese philosophy to guide my investment. So I'm so successful, so I want to tell other people to learn the Chinese philosophy, the Chinese culture, then you will be successful as well. So that's a kind of a brief introduction about overview of the Chinese art and culture industry, charity sector, and some cases. If you want to know more about the details, for example, in art and culture, we have separate different issues. You want to know some different players in different issues, you can come to us. And if you want to meet those kind of grant makers, you can also come to us or through Cheetah, our best friends. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you very much.
do we still, Cui Chao, how many minutes do we have? We still have a few minutes? Cui Chao, do we still have a few minutes? Okay, great. So I think we have 15 minutes, so come on up and join me. I will say that I've actually already failed in my most important job, which I was supposed to say that if you have any questions, please fill out these pieces of paper and send them to the aisle, I guess, and somebody will hand them to me, and I'll ask you questions. We don't have a whole lot of time, but so we'll have a brief chat, and then we'll take your questions from the audience. So thank you all so much. It's challenging because you all come from very different fields and sectors, but I think there's one topic which kind of unites you all, and I'm going to ask you what to me is maybe the most controversial, 有一点辩论的有一个问题, and that's China is very lots of people say that arts should not be commercialized and should not be commercial. And so I wanted to ask you all to talk about that. What do you think should the relationship between art and culture and commerce be? And then afterwards, Taozi and Ben, I'll ask you some other questions, but I think probably this would be for Colin, Gerry, and Ting Ting. Thanks. 你先说吧。
喂，我觉得就
To me,
艺术其实自古以来就是商业化的。
So I think art
对，
has been
我觉得这
commercialized
个可
for a
能要
long
分开来
time
看
since
在
the
什么环
ancient
节。
time. So I really think that
我
it
希望
depends
就
on
是艺术
which
家在
part
创作的时候，其实
of
是
art that we're talking
能
about.
更加 focus 在
So
内容本
for
身，然后他能够创造
artists,
出
I
更
do
好的
think
艺术
that
作
maybe
品。那当
it
然，每个
should
艺术
not
家有自己的
focus
追
so
求和
much on the
风格。
commercial side
但
of
是
thinking, but really
其实艺
focus
术
on the
它
art making.
它已经成为一个商
But
品，
in
然后
terms
它
of
成为商品就某
after
种程度
the
上意味着
work
它
has
在
been
走向
produced,
商业化。
then
同
it
时，刚刚
becomes an art
其实
product
在各
that
个产
has
业
to
里
be
面，
commercialized
艺
in
术
such a way
跟
that
各
to be
个行业
seen
的
and
跨
to
界
be
结合，
consumed
其实
by
往往是要
other
通过
people
一
and
些
by the
商业
audience.
化
And
的
you need
公
to
司
somehow
或者是机构
collaborate
去
with the
实
other
现的。
sectors
其实
in
他们
order
也可以
for
帮助
your work to be
艺术
seen.
更多的去
So I
扩
do think
圈
that，in
然后离开
order for us
一
to
个就
break
是
down the
只是
barriers
艺
and
术
to
收
reach
藏
out
家
to
或
a
者说
wider
爱好者
audience,
这样的一个
I
圈子，能
think
够走进大众的
the
生活，
way
然后能够更多的
of
跟生活
commercializing
方式
that
去结
particular
合。
process
其实我觉得
and
这
to
个其实
actually
能够
connect
让
with
更
other
多的大
sectors
众或者更
will
多
be
的
the way to go.
不一定有能力去消费艺
So
术品
by
本身的
also
人，
using
也可以感
this
受和接
particular
触到艺
channel,
术。
so
其
we
实我
can
觉得是
also
有非
reach
常
out
正
to
面
the
的社会
audience
价
and might
值
have
的
the，
然后
means
它本
to
身也可以成
enjoy
为有商业
art
价值的东
like
西。
it was
另
before.
外说，也可以说，如果你有一个非常好的一个艺术产品，
Additionally, you have
可是没有
a
人
good
看这
artistic
个东
product.
西，
If nobody can't
那
be
就
able
有
to
什么
see
价
it,
值？
then what
对不对？
value it has, right?
你们说吧。
Can anybody else share with us?
首先，我觉得这个问题呢，
First,
最
I
好
think
其
this
实
question
是问艺术家，
you should ask artists.
或者问一个 gallerist， 可能比
Or
我
a
们在座
gallerist
的人更
probably
加容
is
易
probably
回
a
答
better
这个问
question
题
for。them
但是
than
我觉
us.
得来看
But
呢，
I
就是
think
一个就是把艺术带进更一
to
个
bring
更多的
art
一个带进大家的生活吧，
into
或者把艺术能够
people's
带到一个
life
更广阔的一
or
个
into
这样的一个受众群体
more
能够去 enjoy 的这样的一个方式。
for
这
more
样的
audience to
这种
enjoy.
我
I
觉得
think
这样的一个
this
approach
purpose, as this
本身
approach
并不是一
itself
个说艺术变商业的一个过
it's
程，
not
我
like
觉得其实
literally
是增加艺术的一
commercialize
个
art,
影响力。
but
所以这
also
样从这个角度
influence
来讲
the
呢，我觉
increase
得
the
其实
impact of the
很
art.
难去说这样
From
本
this
身
from
艺
this
术
point of
其
view,
实
you can just
是否
simply
商业
say
化是个更好或者
whether
更不好
we
的事
should commercialize art is a
我
good
能不
thing or
能再
bad
插一
thing.
个问题，就是说我最近就是 Phil
Can I,
Tenari 的 Executive Director 最近在纽约，他跟我们说，就是
we
最近
have a
你的
director
Picasso
said
的这
in
个
China.
展
We
览
talk
是当然是
talk
非
in
常
New
非常
York
成
about
功
the
的。
Picasso
那么
exhibition,
他
which is
说
very
他决
successful.
定，或者可
And
能
he
是你们
said,
决定，
or maybe
用一
you
个
have
非常有名的
decided
一个电影明星
to use
来
a
做
famous
这个
movie
也可以说
star.
导游，就是说你可以用你的手机，对不对？然后
For
看
example,
有的人
use
他说，
mobile
有的人
to
批
view
评
it.
他
Some
说
people
你
criticized
这种这么高级的
for
Picasso
such
什么
a
的，你怎么用一个电影
Picasso
明
for
星
such a
来
high
这个不
level
合
of
适
art. You can't just
你
use
怎么
a celebrity to promote
So what
the
I was
art.
saying is that they had this big Picasso exhibit, very, very successful recently. And Phil Tenari, the director, said that they asked a very famous film director to do the sort of audio for the show. And there were people who criticized him saying, how could you use a film director for such a serious thing? That, kind of, how could you do that?
我是从另外一个角度来看。
Film actor, sorry, the actor.
I look at it from different point of view. I think first of all, if you use a popular star to promote the art, from the exhibition itself, it doesn't make any changes. For a celebrity, it can help the serious art to have a better understanding among regular people, easier for them to access. I think this is a very successful practice. And then from this point of view, and then Picasso itself has attracted a lot of traffic as well. So I think there's a contradiction. How about Colin? A lot of people also doubt what's the relation between art and business. For me, it does not contradict with each other. As we can see from the film industry, there are a lot of film work. It's commercially and artistically both successful. So if it's successful, it doesn't mean it's not artistic. But we also see a lot of small niche films. Even though they're not widely recognized, but it can inspire a lot of people to use some new art or new approach. So I think they're equally valuable. So what we hope for is not just have the box office, but also still stay artistic. I think they complement each other. Many people say in China it's highly focused on innovation, right? So high-tech innovation is also very important. Do you think why the cultural innovation is equally important? Can you elaborate? I think technology and art are the cornerstone of human development. Technology is the base. When you have a product, you need technology to develop a product. But whether the consumers can remember your products for a long time, or they can connect with them emotionally, or can turn into IP. So the core competence is art. So that's my point of view. Any other ideas? So as I mentioned, the Picasso exhibition, it's so successful doesn't mean the societal change in China. Yes, indeed, I think. As a Chinese who lives in China, this is an obvious change that I can witness in China. In the last few years, I can see people are attracted to the high-end, great content cultural for exhibitions, whether it's in major cities, Beijing, Shanghai, or like tier 2 cities. People have aspiration more for art. It's becoming more and more obvious. So on one hand, we have the technology innovation, so it become communication has become much easier. And then, as you talked earlier about commercialization of the art, I don't know whether it can be commercialized, but there's a lot of art derivatives. I think they are becoming more and more popular. So, in another way, it also helps people to get to know about art more. So, also increase awareness of the art. So, this is a different approach of promoting art. If you can add a few more sentences, I think in the United States, as China, they've been so fast. Americans don't really know the cultural aspect and cultural change in China. You probably know in the U.S. Many misunderstanding about China. Americans might know some policy or political area of China. But for social and lifestyle and the new consumer, the cultural changes, Americans don't really know. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, how to change this situation. To talk about the social aspect of China.
I think first of all we need to observe more as we are involved in it. As I mentioned in my PowerPoint, as you can see, the Chinese society, whether from the demographics or the core consumption background, the new consumers, they are ingenious internet-savvy users, and they are very educated, great aesthetics. They have a lot of aspiration for art, knowledge, as well as cultural, including global luxury products, and also some not so well-known products. They all have a market in China, and they have more and more popular in China. It is because it's the rise of the Chinese consumers. So the cultural industry would also take advantage of this change to develop further. So for the cultural development has a lot to do with not just the artistic investment. For example, the filming and gaming industry in China, it has become standardized and scaled. The mostly started in 2008 during the financial crisis because of a lot of job loss, but we have a lot of cultural development during that area, which was very interesting. But also you have to see the economic power as well as the lifestyle improvement in China has a lot to do with this change as well.
Ben, I have a few questions from the audience here, but Ben, I wonder if you could share with the audience what are some of the greatest challenges you see in New York in terms of arts and social innovation, and working with the city to get support for arts.
Sure, thank you. There are many challenges. There are many challenges within each sector. For example, museum conservators are dealing with how to conserve new material and how to make that continue. I think affordability is one of the bigger challenges. When you look at the contributions of the creative sector to the economy in cities and in countries, their share of the GDP and continues to grow. And the disconnect between that and the struggle that the creative sector faces on a day-to-day basis in terms of finding a place to live, finding a place to work, expensive production, not sufficient investment by city agencies. So you have that disconnect, and that happens here in New York City, but you can translate that in many other states around the country and other world.
Thanks. And Taozi, you showed us that the 就是文化方面的募捐还算是很低，对不对？
Cultural,
可是呢，跟我说了，就是政府已经
grant
有一个新的慈善法
donation, it's still
Philanthropy law, right?
not as much in China.
That arts and culture has been included in the philanthropy law. I wonder, can you talk about what does that mean? Why is that important?
其实我们看到的这个
As we can see,
现在是3%，但是我们觉得未来的
right now it's about 3%. I think we're very optimistic for the future development. One is from the policy, and then second is from the practice. And from the policy point of view, the philanthropic law, it talks about, included about art and culture, included in that law. So when we donate the art or cultural products, you can get a tax benefit. And then in practice, we can see in in this industry, we have two keywords which we pay more attention. One is the transparency. The second is crossover. From a transparency point of view, with legislation, so they need to have information disclosure for those philanthropic agencies. So they can see from the peer about their donation. So it's also inspiration and incentive for the other organizations for them to donate more. From the crossover point of view, when you talk about, it's not simply about art and culture, but it's a crossover. As we have a Lao Niu Foundation, Lao Niu Brother and Safe Foundation.
Very, for me, relationship with the RBF,
What they did is that we see a lot of children from the migration laborers. So those children, they need artistic assistance, not just simply math and English and literature. So it's not something that you cannot simply learn in school. So they need some artistic education. So it would help with their personality development and also with their schooling and their future growth. So we see art is just not just a social matter, but also it can be a tool to solve other social issues. So this will be improved in
okay, so I have
art
two questions from the audience. I don't know if there are any more questions coming. But with apologies to everybody else, these are both for Colin. So the first question is, 那我试一试用中文吧。就是多半的游戏，就是你今天谈的多半的游戏都是很大的公司创造的。那么在美国还有在其他的国家，现在有一个新的一个需求，就是所谓独立的 studios 做的游戏，对不对？所谓 indie games。这些独立的游戏有他们的
indie games
their budget 是比较小的，对不对？
They have very small budget. They don't have a much big budget.
他们有的时候他们的故事是比较个
their
人，
story is very personal, very individual,
有意思
and very interesting,
intimate， 所谓 intimate 就是个
or
人的
intimate
stories。你觉得这种游戏呢，有什么样的作用？
videos, what roles do they play? And we talk about art commercial value. We talk about just like video games. It's like indie games. It's similar to independent films. For small films, you have a small production. Same for video games. So even though it's not successful yet, but maybe because of its individuality, we can see other artistic trial. So maybe they have a small budget, but we can see a different cultural representation. So we encourage indie games. So at Tencent, we also provide a lot of support to indie games. So a lot of those indie game partners can collaborate with Tencent. Tencent can help them or distribute their video games so to keep our products diversified.
这个人他说
That's
我听说你非常
question is very
喜欢
interesting.
看电影
We've heard that you like to
所以
watch
他的问题是你能不能
movies.
跟我们分
So
享
can
你
you
最喜
share
欢
with us
看的哪一种
what type
电
of
影
movies that you like the most?
其实就像我们去做游戏，
Just
但
like
是其实做游戏这个领域，我们需要
video
去别的行业
games, we
获得
also
很多
need
的
to
信息
draw
和资
inspiration
源。
and
那么这电
information
影
from other
就是看很
industry.
多的电影对
So
我们去做
filming,
开发游戏有很
so
大的帮助。
it is very helpful for us to develop
刚
video
才那个问题有
games.
说到，
So the
中国的这
question
个宣传还不
talked
够。
about earlier,
那
we
其
do
实我
not
觉
have
得中国的电影
sufficient
应该多努力，
promotion in
把
China.
中国的故事
But I
做
think
到
a
很国
Chinese
际化，
film
能
industry
够让
needs
这个
to
全世
work
界来看
harder
到这个中国的一
for
些
the
故
world
事。
to
那
see
其实我们
to
对美国
understand
对西方
more
世界
about
很
the Chinese story. So we learn a lot from the West, possibly from the Hollywood blockbuster movies. So I think in this era, it's very, very significant. We have seen like thousands of movies. Mostly, it's for me to learn and draw inspiration from them. So I like them all. So thank you all for sharing with us your experience, expertise. Thank you.